has been. And so that brings us to our 5th match of the day now, which was Orange versus RDU. It's what we talk about the whole time. Orange has brought the Malagos Druid, and he had some talking points for us that we discussed with him yesterday. Some things that he wishes he would have done differently, which I'm not going to specify because he said that in private, and so in confidence is what I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that for. But he talked about some things at length that I think we can talk about, which is how it affects the matchups and can flip some things on their head. And some of the closer calls that Druid has had, the Malagos Druid is supposed to give it an edge. In some of the matchups, as you just heard from Casey, where perhaps you're not so good, maybe you lose extra points in those matchups. So this, to me, sounds like a metagame call rather than just the strength of the deck style call. It's about what you expect your opponents to bring.
Yes, I think Malagos Druid, sometimes, you know, when you don't draw Nourish, it can really struggle to do anything as a deck because, you know, you're drawing a Malagos and a Dream Petal Florist and things like that instead of, like, you know, a second Worthy Expedition or Cenarius or whatever the card is that you want to bring up that's the equivalent, which is just a much more strong vanilla, play it, do something kind of card, right? Like keeping the matchup. So I definitely understand how you can lose percentages. I will say that, like, Admirable myself tested Mali Druid pretty extensively yesterday. Admirable was playing Mali Druid and performed very well against RDU's lineup specifically. But I do think he was running above average, even though we were sort of fighting on who was getting lucky in the situation. Can we just make the serious point? Like, come on. Like, this man was Dream Petal Floristing me on a Malagos with like 18 cards left in his deck. Like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, you can see who complains more.
Oh, I complain all the time. I'm not denying that one.
Okay, fair enough. As long as you admit it. I do feel like that it did perform, you know, a bit above my expectation.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's because of the deck was performing above my expectation in terms of how strong it was. But, you know, kind of the things I'm thinking about, too, is just how it lines up with the way that RDU wants to queue against it. And so we can take a look at Orange's Shaman, which I believe he's playing in the first game here, and see some of the things that make a big difference. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is looking at that Plague of Murlocs, because I think if you want to beat Priest more often with this deck, that's a key card to have in there. I think it's weak in a lot of other spots, but against Priest specifically, this pulls you away from having to worry about it nearly as much. You have a linchpin card that can outright win you a game.
Yes, I hear these things said about Plague of Murlocs and also about like Plague of Flames in Warlock, but sometimes they're still just not enough, right? Like, you just blow up one board and they make another one a lot of the time. Like, it's putting a band-aid on a gaping wound a lot of the time. Let's look at it that way, right? Like, I feel like a lot more help is needed for these decks. Like, maybe you need to be playing an Earthshock and a Plague of Murlocs. Like, maybe even, you know, you've talked about this in the past, right? Like, weapons and the Overload package, like Lickerman Zaps and things like that to just be able to stop the board snowballing early on. I don't know if, like, one card that you're only going to draw some percentage of the time that doesn't even then have, like, an immediate game-winning effect on the game necessarily is good enough to get you over the line against Priest.
See, I view the Plague of Murlocs more like duct tape, where if you use enough of it, it'll work.
Sure. I want something that's at least like a needle and thread out of your sewing kit, right?
You're asking for a lot.
Okay, well, that's
I mean,
just
you can't just play Northshire Cleric and Shaman. I'm just, you know.
Is that where we've ended with this analogy? Okay, fair enough.
Either way, tough matchup for Orange.
Are you back to Sapir today?
How does he do it?
How does he do it?
Just Mr. Hollywood.
Yeah.
It just camera's so clean. I mean, look at it. For Orange, I like the play that he's gone with here. This gives him the best chance, I think, to perhaps snowball this board and fight back, is fetching a lackey that matters in this situation.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Immediate 4/4 takes care of it.
Yep. That's paddling.
Well, now what?
Just another day in the life of Shaman. Sometimes you look great. Sometimes you don't.
For my
Sometimes you get the Titanic lackey when pretty much any of the other ones were superior.
Shout out to Orange, by the way, making sure to not play golden lackey generators.
Yeah, good job. Well done, Orange. There's a guy who reads announcements and follows instructions. Well done, sir.
For my glory.
He's trying to find any way to change this.
Yeah.
He's like, do I really play the evil cable,
Cable
rat
rat,
here?
yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. Like, this can't be right, can it? Like, I'm going to complete my quest on turn 8 at this rate.
Yeah, I think you just get tanked for some damage here and try to figure the rest out later.
Yep. So does RDU want a 2-3 here, or are we just booping for 1 and then healing and smacking with the Light Warden?
That's an interesting thought.
Wonder.
How relevant is a 2-3?
Got to think about Mogu, Flesh Shaper. You got to think about Mind Control Tech in the future.
Yeah.
You got to think about what Orange is going to develop that the 2-3 helps you fight against.
Yeah, so that's the most interesting one to me, because Mogu's going to cost 4 if you play the extra minion. That's fine. But Orange plays a lot of 3-3s on turn 3. Like, that happens quite often. So then potentially just having the extra stats in play to challenge the 3-3 and allow the Light Warden to keep on smacking away might be valuable.
One small linchpin case, if Orange held on to Faceless Lackey, you enable Mogu Flesh Shaper.
Okay, that's worth thinking about. Yeah, we were talking about that quite a lot in the last series we saw this played out in.
I think I tend to play it.
I do too. I'm on board with this.
I think containing Orange's board is going to be one of your win conditions in this game.
Yeah, because RDU just kind of has like a vanilla mid-rangey board-based hand right now, just curving out potentially into Psychopomp. So just playing stats and hitting your opponent seems to be the way to go from here.
Deloa, speak to me.
Well, that's not... The speech bubble just didn't match the... What? What just happened? I'm confused.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. But I am worried about it.
I'm just worried about that boat in the bottom left. How's it going to overcome that little waterfall?
Deloa, speak to me.
So the little boat is orange, and the waterfall is this Light Warden? Is that where we're going with that?
Yeah, kind
Yeah,
of.
okay.
I'm glad you spotted it.
Faceless Lackey still only brings the Mogu down to 1.
Card draw.
All right, Loot Hoarder about as good as can be expected there.
And for RDU, just another grip of minions. How do you make the most of it?
This is a weird-looking game.
Yeah, I'm going to say that
It
if
was-
I'm in an RDU spot, I'm pretty interested in trying to overload a Mind Control Tech at this point, where you kind of go in against it and be strong against the steal. That's hard to do if your opponent has Mogu Flesh Shaper.
It is, yeah. We've had... Admirable and I, off-camera, have had many a disagreement over this.
So do you contain
About
instead?
whether, like, you should get Mind Control Tech early. I personally believe you shouldn't. Because I think late game, even if you get double Mind Control Tech, it's likely that their double Mind Control Tech has left you with, like, a 2-7 in play that you just murder them with the next turn anyway.
Yeah, you got to take into account context too, though.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the context for RDU here is it looks like he wants to buy time. And that spells to me like trade off the Beaming Sidekick, trade the other two, keep building a Light Warden. You leave yourself with 2 minions in play.
That looks right to me. 3, right? Are we not playing Nephset
I
alongside
want
that?
to trade off. No, I don't want to play Nephset. I want to trade off the Beaming Sidekick and make Mogu as awkward as possible for as long as I can.
Interesting. Okay, Mogu's a good shout, I guess.
I think this blind is good too, though, because like damage is a catalyst to winning games, and 6 is a lot to pass up to play around cards. So RDU's thinking here is I have the Wild Pyro in play, I have Psychopomp in my hand, I have a Nephset Ritualist, I have a lot of payoff draws.
Right. Problem is that Psychopomp does get very awkward to use here if he is kind of committed to playing around the Mind Control Tech. But the more damage he can push before he gets Mind Control Tech, the worse the Mind Control Tech becomes, because the more likely you are to just be able to explode your opponent if they play a Mind Control Tech.
So then the timing for playing into it is where your damage inflection point is.
Yeah.
For Priest, that's specific cards. For something like, Zoo and Warlock, it's usually just about having enough stuff in play.
Yeah. We will continue to fight over this issue, I'm sure.
Aren't I agreeing with you here?
Yeah, but you'll disagree with me again later.
That's the nature of debates, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So we will once, at some point, fight over it. Not that we will continue, because I'm not fighting over it here. Now I'm fighting over a completely
You know
different
the horribly overused phrase, let's agree to disagree? That's actually what we're doing here. We're agreeing to disagree. Five more. Or an opportunity to continue to play around mind control tech here, actually. Just trade down, get the Psycho Pump in play.
Yeah, I'm curious about this turn now. Like, he's so close to having just like an explosive turn on RDU's side.
Yep.
Just not quite there.
Must consider.
I think I'm pumping. No, are you going fishing?
Yeah.
Wants a spell. Huge upside with an F set. If he finds a 0, doesn't find a 0.
Finds
But
a
he can
power
still
shield,
find
though.
the big 0.
Northshire Cleric, you intend to trade off the Wild Pyro here. That protects you from Ogu Flesh Shaper. Excellent draw on RDU's side. And now Orange finds the tech card.
It just a lot of the time puts more power into play for RDU right now.
It's about the timing of that.
Yep.
Orange can see a victory here. How do you find that?
My glory.
So RDU on the previous turn wanted to use his Pyro while he had it to try and get extreme value out of the Cleric. I was looking at just trade down, play the Psycho Pump. You still end with 3 minions in play. 50% of the time you get the... 33% of the time you get the Pyro back. 33% of the time you get a Light Warden. The rest of the time you just get a 1-2 Beaming Sidekick. So that was the most aggressive board play he could make. Just put a lot of damage into play. But I like now that I think about it, like while the Pyro was in play, him using that upside just to get some minion damage and get a Cleric into play does start to make sense to me.
It's just such a dangerous turn for Orange. If you leave a Northshire in play with damage on minions and Priest going into 6 mana, like this is to potential disaster territory.
And that disaster just got upgraded from potential to very, very real.
Second Ritualist.
Heal, poke, Nephicet.
It's the most cards, and that's what I think RDU's interested in. Oh boy. It's not good right now, but I'm seeing future turns.
It's pretty good right now.
Draw 2 less cards.
I must consider.
It's not the best thing you can do this turn. But I certainly like the time RDU's taken to consider it.
Sottle, you know my hard stance. There are no play styles. There are only right and wrong plays.
Quickly.
Yeah, yes. But I like the way RDU sequenced this turn. Like, this is actually a really difficult breakpoint. He did the obvious thing first, right? Like, he took the heal off the Cleric and then went, right, new decision point. Stop and think here. And then he's just about executed this turn perfectly in terms of just time remaining. Just doesn't have quite enough time, perhaps, to react to these Cleric draws. No, it looked like he was fine. Deliberately turned down the Light Warden, as you would against the threat of the Mind Control tech. Starting to approach Giggling Inventor territory, which is a very frustrating card for Priest to try and end the game through.
We saw Boar time this as well, you know, where we talked about mind control, tech timing, and continuing to play around it. And it was right into the Giggling Inventor turn that Boar loaded up the board. And because he had gotten enough damage in, he was able to justify that through 2 means. Number 1, it forced a defensive play, and then number 2, in the face of mind control tech, it just didn't matter.
They just didn't play Giggling Inventor. I think he did that twice in the same series, right? Where he set up to just kill them through Giggling Inventor if that was the turn that came down.
And so I think that RDU, likely looking at this game, is accounting for that as well. Smart.
Still just no way to kill a Cleric that isn't Plague of Murlocs. Whew.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yep, I'm seeing a go in here.
Mm-hmm.
The longer he waits, the tougher this gets.
It does, yeah. But there are still a lot of decisions to be made. How many minions do we want to play first, depending on, but also like weighed against how much, like, the amount of cards you're drawing, there might be different minions in your deck that you'd rather be playing afterwards, and it's like an odds probability thing of playing that. Where is the cleric attack going? Is 5 to face valuable? Does he want to trade and injure it? Like, all of these things come up. So I think there is a huge fluctuation here before RDU even starts the turn. But having said just the opposite on the previous turn, I would have liked to see this turn start faster. Ends up just going maximum card draw, and now the rope is going to appear right about now. These animations are going to take some time. Is RDU just saying 3 minions again?
I like the Acolyte here. He's not accounted for the Giggling Inventor super strong in this spot. Can Orange capitalize? I think this has to be either a Giggling Inventor or Plague of Murloc's turn. I do not think you have an option otherwise.
I think he's actually set up pretty well against Giggling Inventor there because he has that 1 silence in hand. So he just has the 2 attack minions that can take out 1 Annoyatron and then just push straight through it with the 7/7 Cleric after the fact.
For Orange, 1 copy of Silence in RDU's deck, so that is something to think about.
But I think staying 3 minions there against the Giggling Inventor was very justified because of that 1 silence he had in hand.
All right, so now Orange has fought off some of the onslaught, but he's got a long way to go. And so for RDU, it's about making that as awkward as possible.
And this is my fear. This was my exact criticism of Plague of Murlocs as a tech card, is that you do this because you're forced to, because Priest is a better deck than you, and then you just kind of concede tempo and they have to refill afterwards. Now, in the interest of balance, without that Plague of Murlocs, he's just dead this game. Like,
Yes.
this game is over. So there is a chance that Orange can get back into it because of that Plague of Murlocs. But a chance is not necessarily good enough in terms of playing a card that makes other matchups so much worse. Like, you need it to do big things against the matchup you're looking for.
It's pretty decent against Druid, too. Sure. Shrinks a lot of, like, post-scenarios boards and
Yeah,
stuff.
fair enough. I mean, it's a card I'll literally pick up just to deal with War Druid Loti, if nothing else, in that matchup. Just
It's got a lot of auxiliary purposes. I think just the main one is Priest.
Yeah.
And I'm in full agreement with you. I think it makes a lot of situations worse, but in a spot like this, you'd just be dead without it.
Yep.
Like, sir, it could be like a Hex or whatever, but...
Ooh. Giggle into Hero Power Giggle.
Yeah,
Shudder behind all that.
That's a lot of stuff.
It's just not addressing the board state, though. That's the big problem.
So there's 2 ways to think about that, right? Your opponent would need a Wild Pyromancer to push through them. One of those is already gone.
For my glory.
Is that true? Did he play Wild Pyro this game?
Yeah. He's played 1.
Yeah.
There's the other one.
Well, mention a card, it shows up.
Yeah.
Giggling's just so awkward when your opponent's got Acolyte in play.
And there's the card your Plague of
Oh, yeah.
Murlocs didn't kill.
You can see what I'm saying about the mind control tech thing too as well. Like,
Absolutely, yes.
the longer you take to force this card, the more awkward it gets, because Shaman eventually starts building up some real board positions. So if you haven't forced that card, you start to just fall victim to it. I'm telling you, you suck it up. Take the hit.
So can we rewind like 3 or 4 minutes? And I said, you said, aren't you agreeing with me? And I said, you're going to disagree with me again later. And you got really confused about what I meant.
Well, I was debating the continue to disagree, because I was agreeing with you at the time. Semantics, remember. Semantics.
Just not what you said, but okay.
I see a dark future.
I'm seeing some dark futures too.
I think RDU is ending this turn with 3 minions in play. No, he's completely going to try and overload. Okay. There was a way to do it though, right? Just to end with this. If he just played extra arms instead of all the extra minions, and then the Acolyte dies, you just have 3 minions in play at the end of the turn, right? It's kind of interesting to me.
This looks solid to me.
I mean, yeah, this looks great. Just curious, RDU was, taking it to extremes. He was playing around mind control text to a level that, I haven't even really seen in the matchup, even though I'm the one defending it.
Well, I think his timing makes sense. So it looked to me like he had High Priest Amet in mind almost exactly, or just any way to generate a big board of things. So that way, if Orange is going to play mind control tech, he's under the threat of a counter lethal. It's coming at a time when RDU's drawn a lot of cards. He's deep into his deck. He still has a lot of the critical tools left. And he has a priority threat in play with the High Priest Summon. And then the Light Warden is auxiliary to that. I think this timing makes all the sense in the world, and Orange has to find something big to do.
Cable Rat. It's not the one he wants. That's not the one he wants either.
Well, the Titanic Lackey could be the one he wants.
Mental dislocator.
That's not what he wants.
I will not be rushed.
I am terrified of that Acolyte of Pain staying there. I mean, that's like the rest of the deck RDU could draw if you wanted.
Yep.
Pretty dead draw on the injured, though.
Okay, so if RDU heals the Acolyte, goes more arms on something.
The Light Warden gets bigger right away.
Yeah, then the Topsy doesn't end up working. So he needs to just take his Acolyte card first for more information, see what happens.
Oh,
Okay. He has to use his offensive Topsy-Turvy to be able to push through this, though, so that means he needs Inner Fire, which he can't have because he has no further way to draw cards.
Is that true?
Excellent question. Divine, 12, it goes down to 11, it goes up to 22, it goes down to 21.
That's lethal.
Yeah, it's lethal.
Move quickly.
Yeah, everything on the Armet, the trade the other minions into the Light Warden, the Topsy-Turvy is the last Pyro proc that you need. It's lethal.
Play is an afterthought.
Oh, Radu! He didn't attack. He didn't attack with the Tolvir. He didn't attack with the Tolvir. Oh, no, 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 no.
You can't do that.
No, you cannot. You see that Topsy proc would have been another point of damage, and the 2 he missed from the Tolvir would have been the remaining 2, so that Light Warden is dead. 33 goes face.
I'll tell you what. The players have been feeling the pressure.
This Giggling Inventor, I think this just ends the game.
It ends the game. And that is fear in RDU's eyes, where a win he let slip away, and you're looking at a 1-5 record. Like, that's massive.
I want to talk about whether we mutate this turn. Because having that Giggling Inventor as a Giggling Inventor on the board could actually be relevant with Barista Lynching in hand. Because that means you can then summon another 4 Annoyatrons if there's any magical way in RDU's deck of getting through this.
Cycle Pump, back a Wild Pyro, and have a chain of spells. That's
Okay,
it.
that's a good magical answer. I like that. But if that happens, your Giggling Inventor dies to that Wild Pyromancer anyway. That's a really close decision, in my mind. Turning down an 8-drop to have a extra security blanket of 4 more Annoyatrons. And you have Shudderwock in hand, so the 3rd Giggling Inventor you play then gets you a completely full board of Annoyatrons off your Shudderwock after that. Yeah, I think Orange is just going to fatigue him this game. If he doesn't end up killing him outright.
Well, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff. I mean, 33 health is not a joke. Like,
No,
you're
it's
not
not.
killing these anytime soon.
Nope. No, you are not.
So to me, that's an argument to mutate the Giggling Inventor. Start pushing damage.
Push 8. Yeah, we'll put pushing 8 drops worth of damage, I should say.
Like, RDU's just got to fight now. Like, he doesn't have... Good luck. Godspeed, brother. Like, you let this one get away. See if you can get it back. Run it down and chase it down and see if you can find a way to race through this. I don't think you can.
So the Psychopomp has now been played for Notto Pyromancer. So Orange is secure that these Divine Shields are legit sources of blocking damage. So he's free to Barista this turn. If there was a threat of a Wild Pyromancer, I think he actually just has to trade off and play the Shudderwock for the 2 extra Annoyatrons this turn, just to have some more security. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff. And now he mutates it for the 8. I personally like the execution of that. I think I would definitely listen to the argument of just make an 8-drop to hit him with. but a lot of the 8-drops do have Taunt, in which case they don't get to start hitting because RDU can just push through them again afterwards.
So is there a way to manipulate this for RDU ever? And I don't think there is.
You need 9 attacks before one goes face.
My kingdom for a Holy Ripple.
Yeah, seriously. Holy Ripple would be the Jhin card here.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Man, I can't believe it.
Yo, Zephyrus, you gonna let me master spell this board? Is that okay?
Defender of Argus, though.
How about Brightwing?
Legendaries can do a lot. Could even get a Zephyrus. Oh, is that why he offers Brightwing?
It's like the legal way to bounce Zephyrus. They've disallowed Shadow Step and Brewmaster. Yeah.
Move quickly.
Huh.
Yeah. It's like the Brightwing thing. It's like tempo card, value card, weird card, right? Like that's the wild growth animal. That's the wild growth animal companion Brightwing breakdown that you get. I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. Just giving you options of different categories.
I mean, he has to just paper cut Orange Death, right? Like he needs to trade off the Barista and the 3/4.
Yeah,
giggling
just
again.
Make more giggles.
And you keep paper cutting. Yeah, face every single time. So you trade off the weakened Divine Shield too. So like the Divine Shield's off of the first Giggling Inventor. I'm sorry, the first Noyatron. Just run everything in.
Yep.
Make board space and make more Giggling Inventors. You chip for 2 here.
Yep. Precisely right.
But then does RDU execute the exact same style of play, where instead of killing Noyatrons, you just clear all the Divine Shields? And then Orange is in the same spot.
No, because then he just trades off the minions that don't have Divine Shields on them, and then plays a bunch more Annoyatrons.
Right. My point is, if RDU doesn't kill the Annoyatrons, he just kills the Divine Shields, he's starting to cut into the damage he's taking. Like, that's the only way he gets... I'm trying to figure out a way RDU gets back in.
Okay, sure.
And so for Orange, he says, you know what? 4 of these is just enough. I want to go face.
I mean,
Much smarter.
It's still 8 blockers. Yeah, it's 8 blockers and it threatens lethal.
He knows what's left.
He knows what the exact deck is. Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
RDU just straight up let this one get away. I feel for him, but you can't do that.
You can't do that, no.
You have been.
And he knows it. He doesn't need us piling on.
Nope.
He knows it. You can see it on his face. You see on that man's face a little spot of whatever he just spilled on his chin. But apart from that, you can see that he is a very happy boy having dug his way out of that. He knows that he was potentially dead. He knows what happens. Even without seeing the cards, he knows what that was about from RDU. He knows he was dead that turn and he got away with one.
And Giggling Inventor just puts a stop to all that nonsense. Have as many minions as you want. Kill them all. That's the weakness of a Priest deck, is it doesn't really have ways to affect wide board states without Wild Pyromancer.
Yep.
Once those were gone, it was up to Psychopomp to deliver, and it failed to.
Yes, exactly. Once the Psychopomp hit and it wasn't Wild Pyromancer, the game was solved. And Orange solved it in a much more elegant way than we did. I think both the plays win, but Orange just did it in a much quicker, smoother, cleaner way where there was no questions about what we were saying. Like, you know, can RDU buy time doing this? Can he keep this many Annoyatrons off the board so eventually one of his attacks goes face? No, he just killed it, which is the correct way to solve the game. He found it. He found it in good time. But I want to give a shout out to 2 Giggling Inventors. I also play 2 Giggling Inventors in Quest Shaman. I think that card is super key against aggro, and even in the matchups where it isn't necessarily good, I think a lot of people would accept that it's quite good against Priest, but even in like the bad matchups for Giggling Inventor, I'm usually pretty happy to summon 4 Annoyatrons on any given turn.
I'll tell you why I'm happy about it. No former champs in the deck. I'm sick of former champ. Card sucks. Yeah, I said it.
What was it?
Look, I see why it's there.
Sephorium Bomber was what we were talking about, and you still managed to segue it into former champ sucks. It's like, how do you do it?
I just kind of say it honestly.
Yeah, you just really hate that
Yeah,
card.
I
It just
really
comes
don't like
out
it.
naturally.
Yeah. Just dislike it. Nothing wrong with it. Just not for me. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to find out if RDU can clean things up. It's kind of a mess, so he desperately needs this win, or else 1-6 is the record. Stay tuned.
legends say, powerful treasures are hidden everywhere here in Aldoom.
If we hope to defeat Rafam, we'll need as many as we can get. He's already unleashed the ancient plague lords and countless monsters. Keep them distracted, Reno.
Not a problem. This plan is totally gonna work. Ain't that right, Finley?
Oh, yes! I have them right where I want them!
There is an artifact here. The name is...
The scales of justice. Oh, it must be really fancy.
only to be used in a time of great peril. Yes, I think this qualifies.
Hey, look, Finley! You've lured one of the Plague Lords!
Take this, fiend!
In the face! Yeah! Hey, guys! Get that treasure! We've got a Plague Lord to destroy!
Yes, please, hurry!
Not to worry, Finley. We just push this thing right here.
No, that's a trap! Watch out!
It's all good. I am finally tired.
Gracious me!
What we actually need to do is press this. And there.
A
Fish.
No! It's the scales of justice!
Ah, who wants to use it first?
Oh, I do! Me! On second thought, maybe give it to Finley?
All you had to do is hold a rope.
Here we go, blaming the tall, ruggedly handsome guy again.
My name is John Westberg. In game, I'm Orange. How I came up with my username, there's really no interesting story about it. I just always really liked the color orange. What Grandmaster means to me, it means a lot of things. I've been enjoying these past few years like no other. It's been the best years of my life. But starting off from square one each and every year has certainly been quite brutal. But finally getting like some recognitions that like, hey, you guys are the top players in the world of this game. It really means a lot to me. It makes it so these past years of work has definitely been worth it. What I'm looking forward to most about the Grandmaster experience is definitely that I get to compete every single week against what is considered to be the absolute best players in the world. The thing I played most throughout the years has definitely been mid-range decks. A deck that takes on an aggressive role against slower decks and takes on a defensive role against the faster decks. To prove myself that I really make it among the best is if I make it to the global finals. It's a pretty big goal. It's going to be very, very hard. I think this might be it. I think this might be my time to really shine.
Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters. We're in the European region right now, and we are in our fifth or final match of this region before we head over to the Americas. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by Simon Sotto Welch, and came off a pretty brutal game from RDU there. I'm not going to talk about it. You know, it keeps happening. No reason to rub it in. Man knows what he got himself into. So now, game number 2. RDU's back on Priest, and Orange is queuing up Malagos Druid. It's going to see play. We're going to find out if it works.
It's got a rough matchup on its side, though. It's going to be... I don't know how different it necessarily is from the Quest Druid in this matchup. Like, you can still use Oasis Surges to hunt down the board and really take huge amounts of health, just scythe amounts of health off the board with Oasis Surge. You still have those Anubisat defenders to come down and be the wall. The differences are maybe things like no Zephyrus to dig you out of trouble if you get to the late game. And also, you really do have to get to the like hyper late game to win the game in a lot of positions, unless your Worthy Expedition cooperates and gives you some kind of big threat that can end the game earlier.
I guess one of my questions is, are there some scenarios where you actually potentially have more fight power? And something I'm thinking of is exhausting resources on Priest side. I think that's possible. And, you know, where it would normally be like Nomi and Cenarius and King Ferris, instead you have Malagos and Moonfires. Like, that could be a much bigger turn 9 punch, or earlier perhaps, than a Nomi or a Cenarius could be. Like, that could be a big difference. And so I'm curious about, you know, just some of the way the endgame iterations line up. You know, as you said, though, the key is getting to the endgame. In Orange, you're going to forego quest progress.
Yeah, I was going to say, we just wrap this and move on. Let's not even talk about it. That is well worth skipping a turn of development on the quest.
And with extra arms in hand, I imagine RDU's got to be interested in just playing a beaming sidekick. Does that tell too much about your hand to Orange?
I wonder.
Tell you what, it makes Moonfire the nut draw for Orange next turn if he does do it, weirdly enough. There's
Orange
that Mally,
nods his
and there's
head.
the nod. And yeah, this is the failure rate that can be kind of built into this deck, where you do just sometimes draw very, very unplayable cards. Now, that can just be considered equivalent to Chef Nomi or whatever else that you would draw in that position. It would just, yeah, and it would just be kind of equally dead in this spot. And as Admirable points out, Malagos has a chance to make an impact a lot earlier in a game than a Chef Nomi would. This is a pretty good start from Orange, though, despite getting that Blood Mage dealt with. The fact that he's been able to back-to-back both of these threats off the board early for RDU is a big, big win for him. But I think this Worthy Expedition might have to throw him up a Nourish exactly, because 2 Wraths gone down for no card draw and a Blood Mage gone down for no card draw.
I was thinking Surger helps as well. Just anything that generates a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously Surge is good, but would you agree that Surger plus Nourish in the same one, you snap pick that Nourish?
I honestly don't know.
Wow, okay.
I'd probably take the Nourish. Like, Nourish accelerates the time. Surger's trying to buy the time.
Right.
And with combo decks, you're usually interested in accelerating versus buying time. Oh, huge draw. That Keeper of the Grove, though, Orange accounted for that and finds Elise. This is not good on Orange's side. Oh, he's 2 turns off as well.
Now, how about...
Ooh. So then what do I take if that's the case? I forgot about the turn 2 Wrath.
I didn't forget about it, and I'm still taking the Nourish. Just out stuff. Not winning the game without cards.
Now, how about...
Wow.
Orange face with a tough decision right now. Like, it looks just, you know, vanilla good on board. Just silence the 2/6, take the decent trade that he has available. He's just scared of what happens if he does that, and then big buffs come down on the other side on the 2/6 that's just still hanging around. Like, how does he beat that if that happens?
Wow!
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of into this, honestly.
And the way that music just kind of trails off is how I feel about it. You're like, yay! No. It's not very good.
No, it wasn't. I think it was the best of a bad bunch, though. Keeper of the Grove, like, looks strong there just to an onlooker, but you have to understand how easily you get punished if you use that silence that you've picked up there. Like, it just leaves a 2/6 on the board.
You honestly just get punished by the board.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Just trade over your keeper, heal it up. You're like, all right, sweet, that's dealt with.
Yeah.
I think seeing this at least played here is one of the reasons I'm so torn on not taking the Surger. Like, step 1 is wrestle board.
Sorry, so again, you More in favor of the Surger now because you want to gain ball control?
Well, it's kind of just looking at hindsight, right?
Yeah,
You take that Nourish, you have a plan, but you're going to get beat up.
Okay.
If you take the Surger, maybe you can contain.
Okay.
Still have a lot of powerful draws as you approach the end game, but Quest has been massively delayed due to the open that RDU is responding to.
My counter argument to that is if you take the Nourish and you play the Nourish then sometimes finds you a Oasis Surger.
Starfall, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Things that fight for board. Whereas if you take an Oasis Surger, it does not find you a Nourish.
It's a true story. Ooh, it's not getting better.
It's not.
This matchup is tough.
It's getting quite a lot worse and will continue to do so. But Orange just kind of has to dance with death right now. The longer he can wait on that Keeper of the Grove, the more potential value he can get out of it. But he's on a tightrope because if he waits one turn too long, that 4-8 kills him.
What if...
Interesting.
Two Keepers.
Two Keepers of the Grove.
Ah.
One of them is not only unnerved, but in fact buffed. What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm looking at Floop's picture. I mean, it looks like he's juicing. I don't know what he's making up in that vial.
Whew. Heady accusations.
Well, if you're stronger than the original Keeper of the Grove, I mean, you can't work. Nobody gets strong that fast.
Yeah, fair enough.
It takes time and effort.
Have you seen Dan's Twitter?
Yeah, that was a long time in the works.
Okay.
Seen old pictures of Dan?
In the
He's leaned out again.
Whoa! RDU is okay. Well, I mean, serious question. The Discover happened, an option was chosen, and it hasn't been used yet. What is it? It's not Nourish. It's not Oasis Surger.
I don't think it is.
What else do you pick?
Hey, I got you, friend.
I'm just putting on a Light Ward because...
That's a Light Ward.
Yeah, now it's a 1/4 Light Ward.
Yeah, now it has more health.
Look, that's just the matchup, all right? It's tough. You got to have a lot of things go right in Orange's spot. I take that... Well, let me rephrase that. Lots of good things need to happen to Orange, and lots of bad things need to happen to RDU. It is a two-pronged thing that needs to happen, and that makes it very difficult.
Right. I don't think Orange is by any means out of this game just yet, though.
Not out of it, but he's pretty far behind.
He is significantly behind, but Mali Druid is also a deck that is built to fight from behind.
It's a true story.
That's why, you know, there's Starfalls and Hidden Oasis and all that kind of garbage in there. And from RDU's face, I don't think that was a card he was accounting for, or if he was just fearful that it was coming down. Actually, I misspoke last turn. It could have been Nourish. It could have been Nourish still, because he didn't have quest completed last turn, so he probably wouldn't have cast it on turn 6 anyway.
All right. The push potential's here. RDU's got to make the most of this. Do not give up yet, RDU. He's been having a rough set. It's been a rough season. Turn it around.
Oh, the Floop.
I wonder.
I think it's fine. Your board's big enough.
It's fine.
I think you have fight potential here. For RDU, I want to see him play Ahmet and Wild Pyro, not Ahmet and Divine Spirit.
Okay. That is definitely more secure against the Floop.
There's one player that I really think about when I think about resilience, and that's RDU. This guy's been through some beats, man.
Yeah.
Like, I look at Kalento match that he had in Shanghai where he was qualifying for Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
Kalento hit a 10%er against him and won the match.
Same thing, Pavel, year before, last chance qualifier. Exact same situation. RDU has been so close so many times and had it snatched away from him by really bad beats. And speaking of snatched away from him, that Starfall can snatch a lot away from RDU right now. And by a lot, I mean basically all the damage that he has in play. By the way, 2-0, 2-3-5 taunts. Potentially even 3 of them. It gives up the Flooped Keeper of the Grove, though. Is it worth it?
I wanted the Ahmet Pyro. You'd have so much more in play.
Yep. This is a really weird decision, though. If you play 1, you play 3, right? Can we agree on that?
No.
No? Okay. Can we agree on anything?
Well, I'm playing 2.
Yeah.
That's not a question. Those are free 3/5s. I want to play it, but I also have a Malagos in my hand.
Yeah. And you're just going to play that as a 4/12 next turn, and it's never dying.
That's exactly my point. So then I have a second Malagos in my hand, which costs 4. So
Okay.
a draw of Starfall, Swipe,
Okay.
Moonfall, all my spells draws become impactful then.
Okay.
But I think this is enough.
I very much agree with the third one, as made clear by saying what I didn't think was going to be controversial.
No, I said that, of course, but there are still draws in RDU's deck that are impactful now. He got the Keeper of the Grove Floop out of the way. Now he's got 2 big threats.
Yeah.
So RDU needs to find extra cards and hope that this works out. Orange slams the Mally and giddy up. This is where we're at.
Yep. No thinking about drawing a card here. Well, actually, let's have a quick think about it. Oasis Searcher.
Okay, let's have another think about it. Uncontested Malagos.
Can we just think about Oasis Searcher quickly?
I'll draw it next turn.
It's pretty good. Yeah,
I want the Mally.
Yeah, you definitely Mally. I just want to, like, pay heed to the option, since there was one. But yeah, Tempo Mally, vastly superior, I think.
No cards in RDU's hand. And this is it. What's the draw? Not good. Not
Nope.
yet, anyway.
It's a card that he might need if he's going to come out of this game alive.
It's the wrong order it's been drawn in.
Yep.
You know, did saving the Amet perhaps buy him more time than the Wild Pyromancer would have? Like, how impactful would the Starfall have been? It would have killed the Amet instead.
Ugh.
Deck card for early Zephyrus and Mage matchups for Flame Imps.
Flame Imp, yeah.
Help you kill off Northshire Clerics. That's card draw. You're desperate for card draw.
You are.
And this 3/3 needs to hang on for dear life. Protect the Crystal Merchant.
Behold, jewels of the sands.
Bump the Amet.
Are we pouncing it as well, just because?
Possibly.
I think so, right? Seems important.
Surprise factor, range.
Sure. I
Oh,
was
boy.
about to say exactly. 6 health minions mean that they die to residual swipe. But the heal will come down on the armor anyway to make it back up to 8.
I think that swipe is going to destroy RDU. That is a 9/6 swipe. Things just don't live through that, man. Yeah, that board's dead.
Oh!
That's game.
Mally Druid.
Look at how massive the Malagos is as well. Like, this is so powerful.
5, 10, 14, 15, 19, 20 damage this turn.
Swipe the 1/8, bump the Amet, 4 to face.
Yep.
Ball game. I'm seeing exactly one way RDU gets back into this. Northshire Cleric, heal up, draw Circle of Healing, and hope you can find it. I don't think they don't even think that works. And that certainly doesn't. Orange 2-0 over RDU. Whew. Takes Keeper of the Grove, foregoes a lot of quest completion, and finds himself scraping by until the colossal moment at the end with Malagos and Swipe. And my goodness. Just a Druid game. Like, there wasn't even anything fancy there.
And it's
It was
kind of
just,
like it looked like you were searching to say something, and then it just went on and on and on. I was like, is this my turn?
I was trying to find a
talk?
weird
It's just-
analogy, and I
Okay.
just, you know me, I like weird analogies.
You do. That is true.
It just, I can't find one. It's just honestly a good old-fashioned Druid game.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I think it was piloted expertly from Orange, though. Like, as much as I said, I think on turn 2, I said, yeah, you wrath this. We don't even talk about it. Like, I think some lower level players would not have wrathed in that position. And I don't think that's a super high level decision to just wrath a minion against Priest that can get healed up. I think it's fairly obvious. But I think that's a position where people can lose the game. I think there's also a position to people lose the game where they use the Keeper of the Grove much earlier than Orange did. I think there's another point where you lose the game where people got greedy with the fluked Keeper of the Grove instead of just going for the line that Orange did. Like, there's all sorts of points where that game was losable. Not just from Orange's side, but from RDU's side as well, with just a more powerful draw on like any given turn through multiple turns there. But great performance. We've been bigging it up all day, and it's great to end the day with that Mali Druid performance, just wrapping things up in a nice little bow.
Yep, and so let's top that bow off even further with an interview with Orange himself. Orange, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. Congratulations on your win here. I want to talk about Malagos Druid first and foremost and hear it from yourself. Why'd you bring this deck, and what are the benefits and the opposites of benefits, I guess, when it comes to playing it versus regular Quest Druids? Drawbacks, yeah, there we go.
Well, I mean, most people that have followed me for a while know how much I love Malagos Druid, but it wasn't actually me that came up with it this time. It was thanks to Frozen testing with us for quite a bit, and he pointed out how good the deck was. And we didn't need much convincing to realize that Malagos Druid was, I mean, I would say that it's pretty much just a better version of Druid right now. Having a win condition that isn't based on you attacking with like Chef Noami or Forest and stuff is super, super powerful right now. And also in the Grandmasters, where people prepare for the week prior, like they prepare for the Druid decks that people were playing last week. Then it's super powerful to switch it up and just play a different win condition that I may not be prepared for.
Smart.
So we talked to you about a couple of matchups with Mali Druid because we were both super interested in it going into the week. We didn't talk to you too much about Priest. Like, does that matchup suck more or less or about the same as regular Normie Druid?
It sucks a lot.
Okay.
it's really bad.
Okay.
But I mean, I always thought that matchup is like more when people make it out to be like this impossible matchup to win. But I just think that you have to get kind of creative with how you play Druid and, you know, do plays based on what you see from your opponent. For example, in that game where I didn't really focus on finishing my quest whatsoever,
right,
but just try to play like a mid-range game, then eventually you finish quest and you take over the game. For me, that game was a lot about having Malagos in hand. I knew that if I could just get Malagos down on a board where it wasn't dead, it would probably be very good. And I guess it kind of worked out. So, but yeah, the matchup is bad, basically.
So I don't know if you were watching earlier, but I asked Calento about his thoughts on what you said last week.
Mm-hmm.
And he...
I didn't see that.
Well, okay, so he invited you onto a call or a stream to explain to him the things that you think he is doing wrong, because he thinks you might be wrong in a lot of those scenarios. Your thoughts, Orange?
I mean, I've actually invited Calento to test with me and talk with me previously, and
nice.
He declined. Not sure how how ready I am to do that on stream. Or you know what, I can do it on stream. You got my number, Calento. Just let's do it.
This is me stirring the pot. I'm enjoying it.
Oh, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So what about this week? Do you have any more words for anybody else? Any other very gentle, Swedish, kind shots you want to fire at anybody?
No, I really don't feel like I'm in a position to do it. I actually have a really high fever, and I'm not feeling very good today. So I don't want to fire any shots now because of the fear that I might screw up on Sunday because I'm not feeling that well, and then it would look really bad if I fire any shots now. Plus, I didn't really think of anyone to fire shots at. Like, everyone's been doing kind of fine today. I've been happy with the play I've been seeing. EU Grandmasters. I'll turn it around. I'll give everyone a good job today.
How wholesome.
Big thumbs up.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say, I don't want to say anything out of fear that I might not make it until Sunday. I was like, well, how severe is this fever, Orange? What's going on?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Well,
stay tuned.
You know what? I'll let you go then. Get some rest. Job well done today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you play again this week. Orange, congratulations again, and happy to see you turn the record around.
Well played.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
My heart hurts, and it's elated at the same time. I love to see Orange succeed, but for RDU, it just feels like this is the same old story. It's like you get an opportunity, you're so close to turning it around, doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I think now, I brought this up at the time, the day has been bookended by very important matchups on both sides of the table. Swids losing early meant that his eyes had to be on this last series with RDU. He really needed RDU also to lose, just so there was parity at the bottom of that division in terms of relegation. But then on the flip side of that, Kalento and Orange continuing to pick up wins, then push their way up towards the top of that division on the flip side. Kalento just, potentially starting to run away with this one alongside Hunter Ace up there.
And a day of 2-0s. Look at that.
It's like 11 o'clock. We're just out of here.
What the heck
Crazy.
happened?
I don't know. Just on schedule for the first time in history.
And Priest was losing sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Casey and Psycho sped it up for us a bit. Casey, that blistering fast play, and burned 14 cards away from Psycho's deck. Unbelievable, that game.
Yeah. He didn't explode him, though. Forever disappointed.
Burned 14 cards.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
take that.
All right. And a shout out to the Bunny Hopper series as well. It's always a joy for me to watch Bunny Hopper play. Bunny Hopper actually gave specific shout outs over to his opponent as well and said, Boar is fantastic. Like, he's on my level, if not better. I think that matchup showed how good Bunny Hopper was. Boar didn't really have too much of a chance to play in some of those positions just because of the lack of quality in his hand, but I think the decisions that he did make, he made correctly. I think that was a very high-level game of Hearthstone for what it was worth. It's just a shame that it wasn't, more competitive in terms of the draws of both players.
See, look at the divisions as well. Hunter Ace will be playing tomorrow as well, trying to continue that 13 match win. It's 14 matches now?
13.
13 match win
14,
streak.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. It will be 14.
Yeah.
Saddle's calling it now.
And 15 and 6. No, I'm kidding.
17, 18. He'll never lose again.
Yep.
I'm calling it. Maybe some games, but not the matches. Right up there with Kalento chasing him down as well, sitting at 6-1. And Bunny Hopper and Yarla sitting up top at 5-2. Yarla picked up a second loss today where Bunny Hopper was able to once again pull into that tie spot with a clutch win over Board Control.
Yeah, Nasu, I'm talking about Orange winning and Kalento winning, push themselves up to within touching distance of Hunter Ace and secure themselves those playoff positions, at least as it stands right now, whereas the losses from RDU and Swids mean that they maintain parity on the bottom of the league, scrapping out for that one relegation spot. On the other side, if you're a Fino fan, the good news for him is that Casey picked up the victory over Psycho, which now keeps Psycho in touching distance of Fino, because honestly, it feels like that one name, Psycho, is about all that Fino has in his sights right now. Like, just one step at a time. Catch up to Psycho, and then go from there. That's all he's got in front of him.
Indeed, one step at a time. That's how you got to take this one. And so something else I'm looking at is Viper sitting at 2-4, where it's got to be one step at a time, and he's taken a big step this week with a major departure from the norm in terms of standard deck lists. He has brought a crazy-looking Control Warrior, and I cannot wait to see if that gets the job done.
Yeah, I mean, all sorts of weird tech in there. He's looking at some Druids. He's looking at some Holy Wrath Paladins. There's a Hakar the Soul Flayer with the Boom Ship in his deck. So not only does he have a Hakar, he has the ability to pull it out of his hand and rush it into something to die immediately. Like, I'm looking at, for example, like War Druid. War Druid Loti comes out from Druid, and then there's a poison minion on the board. You can immediately then get those bloods into your opponent's deck by rushing into it. Crazy stuff. I've seen it work. I've seen it not work. I've seen little niche things you can do to play around it as well. So I'm really fascinated as to how much testing has gone into those series from Viper's opponents as to whether they can counteract that Hakar situation coming back at them.
Can't wait to see it. But for now, it pretty much wraps up our day. We're done here in Europe, but we're not done with Hearthstone. We're sending it over to the Americas coming up right next. TJ has not here today, so he's got a surprise stand-in for you.
You gotta hook him in. You gotta hook him in.
Brian Kibler.
There it is
on deck with Frodan. That's what's standing by. So for myself, for Sato, and for everyone here at the production, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at the same time tomorrow.